Welcome back, everybody. In this episode, we're gonna sort out the thumbnails for our videos. So before going into the moderation side of the platform, because that is quite a sizable part, I just want to make sure that we got more or less everything cleaned up here in terms of what we currently have. So the current problem with these videos is that as soon as you land on the page, however many videos there are, we can reduce the amount, etc. What happens now is that they all load at the same time, right? So we want to stop or prevent all the videos from just starting to load. So we will stop the loading of the videos. And because the videos are not loaded, there isn't going to be any image there. And that's where we want to just display a simple thumbnail, right? So for all of our videos that we upload, we want to generate a thumbnail, and that will help us reduce the size of the download of each page, okay? And that's pretty much the motivation behind this episode. So let's go ahead and see how we can do this. I'm going to bring up the same example that we had previously. I didn't save the file, but here is a small replication of that, right? So here it is. We probably did we not settle for something smaller? Let's check the video editing background service. Yep. So for 538, that's what we've settled for. So I'm just gonna make sure this is correct. So in case you don't know my process for how I work with FFmpeg, I probably didn't show it in the previous episodes, but this is what we do, right? So we open up our browser and we go FFmpeg thumbnail, cool. And then we click on a link. If at the moment you're like, I don't know what's happening, right? What you do is you take a deep breath, you read through it, you just try something, and then if it still doesn't work, find another page and repeat, right? But yeah, nevertheless, input, output, the format of the output, the page is about creating a thumbnail. Let's go ahead and just grab the timestamp at which we want to generate the thumbnail and how many frames we want to generate. So that's not a literal translation of the command. That is what I perceive it to be, right? So the timestamp, let's put it right at the beginning, still one frame, and let's just call it thumb. All right, let's run this, and this should generate us a video. One thing is that you can probably see here, the video is not as wide as the thumbnail. So if we go to properties, details, 540 and 380. And if we go to properties of the image, we are still at 800. So let's see if we can downscale our thumbnail as well. So let's take this bit here, and after the frames, let's just put it there, right? So VF frames, and I mean, same size, right? So, and we'll regenerate it. You should have seen it's still wider, but that's probably because of the icon borders or whatever. But now it's more or less identical image. So let's go ahead, take a look at the properties. The size is smaller. I don't know if we can do anything regarding optimizing it or anything like that. But yeah, 500. So I mean, same size. And in terms of the size that we save, so 200 kilobytes there, 300 kilobytes here. So not actually that much of a saving. I don't know if this image can be optimized, so if we can just reduce the quality or something like that. But this is something, again, to look on in the future. But for now, I think we are just happy with a simple thumbnail. So let's go ahead and push this into our application, right? So let me not close the browser, but let me just close the rest of the stuff. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna just copy pasta this bit, go into the application, and here where I have my video editing background service, I am going to put this here. Make sure not to put this on a new line like this with a, what's it called, with an at. Just keep it on one line. I'm not sure why, but yeah, the arguments, they don't play well with like new line separators and stuff like that. So yeah. So here what we have, we just want the output path, but for our thumbnail, right? So where we generate the output name, generate converted file name, where we have this, let's go ahead, add another prefix, and let's say thumbnail prefix, and we'll just call it T. We're just gonna do the same thing. Generate thumbnail file name. And then we're gonna use thumbnail prefix. And now here we can use output converted name. And let's actually first do it properly. So I'm gonna use F2 to rename this variable. All right. I can then copy this output thumbnail name, copy this, and actually let's say output converted path. We'll copy this now, and output thumbnail path, right? And here we want to make sure that we provide the output thumbnail name. And at the end, where we have this bit here, let's go ahead and make sure that we have the output thumbnail path. Okay, so I appreciate that this line is a little bit long, so I don't know, I'm gonna hover around here for just a second for anybody who wants to copy this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, going down to where we actually set the video, what we want to do instead is dedicate the video to its own separate object. Because at the moment the submission is the video. So what we want to do is we want to take the video. This will be the submission. There is like a little video inside of it. We want to take that out and put it into its own object, and then this will basically just point to the video, right? So here's the video. We want to yank it out, right? So let's go ahead, and in here, there's a bit of it doesn't fit properly. Let me, hardest problem in computer science, grabbing that little, minuscule border thing, and you're like, anyway, if you're using the keyboard, the problem does not occur, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and create a video. What we'll do is we will say string video, or rather, let's say link, and let's say maybe video link, right? So this is a link to the video. Let's go ahead and just preemptively put the ID here as well, so the database will not struggle. From the submission, what we're going to do is we're going to this video. Yeah, let's just put the video here like this. And one of the big things to consider here, and I know some people out there are building not an exact solution as me, but maybe sort of like a clone with variations regarding the program itself, right? So you're not building the exact thing as I am, but maybe for something else. So here is a thing that you need to consider early on, because you're making this have a single video, right? So at this point, you are kind of deciding on the model of your database. I don't think my platform will need multiple videos per submission. If you're building something else and you're not concretely following what I'm doing, I recommend you pause here and you consider and you try to think, does my submission need more than one video? Will there ever be situations where a submission will have multiple videos, right? So let's say if a person does a submission against one trick, and then 5 years down the line he gets better at it, so he uploads a second submission against that trick. Is that video just going to be added here alongside his previous submission, or are we just going to go ahead and create a brand new submission? Okay, so this is just something for you to think about. I think for my setup, this will be fine. There's also a question of where do you want to put the foreign key sort of thing. Do you want the submission foreign key in here, or do you want the video foreign key in here? I'm going to put the video foreign key in here because I don't want to tie my videos to submissions, right? I want them to kind of be standalone sort of thing. So in case, I don't know, I want to start putting videos somewhere else on the platform, not just alongside submissions. Maybe moderation reviews. A person can basically, if there's like a heated dispute, he can just upload a video of himself saying, listen guys, I don't want to type this out, this is crap, that is crap, this is what I mean. It's easier to say it than type it out. And plus, all the hand waving adds to the explanation, right? So let's go ahead and put a video ID here. And for the video, we are also going to add a thumb link, right? So this is going to be a thumbnail link, a video. So we're going to have a thumbnail. I mean, that's pretty much it. So there is a problem with the submissions at the moment. So let's go ahead and comment these out in our program. So our application compiles. Again, this is something that we are going to handle just a little bit later. Now going to the video editing background service, where we have the output converted name. This is basically, once this is more or less done, again, once we go to the S3 bucket, this is going to start looking a little bit different. But here we just want a new video. And video link will be the output converted name. And for the thumb link, output thumbnail name. Okay. That, I think this is pretty much it for this. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that our models, or the view model and stuff like that, with the submission stuff like that, yeah, basically does it work correctly, sort of thing. So yeah, now this is the part where we want to start separating our view model. This is the part where you can see, you can look at this and you can think about it, and you're gonna be like, we need a view model. We need to separate what we're going to be sending from the submissions, because on the submissions we now have the object, etc. And the models here really represent the data structure. What we're sending is not necessarily the data structure that is modeled in our database. So let's go ahead and start with the form, with what we're receiving, and slowly progress into what we're going to be writing to our video editing background service. I think we've just fixed that. So to go into forms, let's say class submission form, and on the trick here, I think, yeah, I called it trick. I don't know why I didn't rename the file, right? So let's rename the file to trick form. And yeah, that pretty much looks all right. So let's see what we actually need. We need the video path. And what's the other stuff that we are submitting? There is going to be description. So where's our video form? The description is there. Let's go back to submission. And before we had a video, so right now we just want the prop string video, right? So that's going to be pretty much the same thing. All we did, we changed the type here. The name stays the same, so we changed from string to video. Here we basically just mimicked what we're sending. So let's go ahead and change this to form. So this is now a submission form. Let's import the reference. Now, instead of the submission, let's go ahead and just call this form actually. We will put this here, and we will be creating a brand new submission. So var submission, new submission, right? And you can bring in automapper here if you want, and stuff like that. Again, I don't think this is that complicated. There is 2 fields here for now. If this is ever going to become a problem, we might bring automapper in here to help us with model binding and stuff like that, right? But the reason I'm making a variable and not just putting it here is because we will need the submission ID when we go in here, okay? So on the submission form, this is what we want to pass into here, again, because that's just a string to the location of our temporary video. Other than that, let's just not forget about the description from our submission form. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So we create a new submission, we save it to the database to later retrieve it in the service, and we're passing it there. Next thing is we kind of want to return the submission that we've created. And now, because the video is going to be a nested object, it may break a few things on the getters here. Although at the moment, I think because we're using the in-memory model, our queries actually work fine without the includes. But in the future, I think when we switch to Postgres, stuff might start breaking. So just an expectation there, okay? But for now, we will leave this as is. So going to the www root folder, I am going to clear out the videos that I've uploaded before. I'm gonna make sure that my applications are compiling. Cool. Let's go back to the website. I'm gonna refresh, and let's go ahead and upload some submissions, right? Let's just double check that the whole thing works. So let's go ahead and start with this first one. This is going to be a backflip. Description, awesome. Looks like the padding is off here. So this is something that we might fix later on, right? And again, right, so save, review, cool. Let's give this a refresh so we know that stuff is working, maybe not. And maybe, did I upload it against the backwards roll? Nope. Let's see if the files have been created. There have been 2 files, 2 MP4 files. So, okay, at this point I'm anticipating 2 issues. First issue is just the naming in our video editing background service. We've just messed up the names. Second issue is the reason this is breaking is probably if we take a look at the console. There's probably going to be like maybe a couple of errors or something like that. Nope, maybe it just forgot to save it, but let's go ahead back to the video editing background service and output converted path at the end where we have the output thumbnail path. We're supplying the thumbnail path. That is fine. So temporary save path. That is good. So temporary, what's it called? Thumbnail name. We're actually not using it. So let's go ahead and use the thumbnail name here. And another thing for the thumbnail name, this is what I actually thought the mistake was, but we're actually just not even using it. So what we want to do is we actually want to just say something like PNG, JPEG, JP2, or, you know, get creative here, choose your own file format, go crazy, right? Let's save this. Let's see, does it, I'm gonna guess it has reloaded. Let's just quickly clear the www root folder out. I'm gonna go ahead and upload another submission, backwards roll this time. Anything will really do. All I'm interested in is just generating a few files so I can use them later on in my program.cs. So here it is. Let's go ahead and check this out. So coming back here, giving this a refresh and backwards roll. So what I will actually take a look at is the network. So let's go ahead and refresh this. And it's probably something not that I'm loading. So let's go ahead and load the backwards roll again. So here's the submission. Looks like we're not getting anything. So another quick way to do this while you're still sort of in the space of development with the in-memory provider, for the, let's see the endpoint that we're going to. So we're going to the tricks endpoint. So let's go to the tricks controller. For the submissions that we want to see, we can put a breakpoint here, right? Let's go ahead and just attach to the process. So all I want to do is just find the tricking library API. So just giving that a few seconds and that should be fine. So again, going back to the tricking library, navigating to a route, and we should hit this. So with the in-memory provider, what you do is you can actually see all of the stuff. So let's just use the menu at the bottom here. So in here, what I want to do is I want to find the context, and I want to look for submissions. So let's take a look at the results. We do have one, deleted false, video process true, and the video seems to be null. So let's go ahead and take a look at where is our video DB context. It's not present, right? So let's go ahead and run that through, remove the breakpoint, bring up the debugger window, and just stop the debugger, right? That doesn't actually stop our process here, so yada yada. So let's go ahead and delete these videos, or these videos and thumbnails. what we will do is we will go into our database layer. All right, rookie mistake happens all the time. Let's go ahead, put a video here and videos. Okay, so saving that should start rebuilding it. Let's go ahead and I will try this again. And actually, wait, where was my tricks controller? I will just close others, so we just have one file to work with. And in here again, where I had my submissions, I'm just gonna put a breakpoint here and just make sure that when I do like create and stuff like that, I mean stuff does get created. So let's take the first one, backwards roll, anything, save. Right, let's take a look. Stuff is here. Let's take a look at the backwards roll. We're still getting nothing. So again, this is something that I've feared that will happen. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but again, I guess this is a live debugging session. Attach the debugger. Go ahead, go back to the backwards roll, see what's happening. Go into this context. Let's take a look at the submissions. Let's just make sure that the data is there. Video is still null. Let's take a look at the videos. Let's take a look at the results. Our video is there. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to add an include statement here for the video to make sure that it basically ends up in this result. And another thing that I can see from this is, well, my debugger got detached there because I pressed saved. But essentially what I saw is that the trick ID was empty, right? So the submission exists, but because we're finding it based on the trick, that doesn't exist. So if we again go to submission, we see that we have a trick ID of string here. Let's just copy this line and we're gonna go back to the submissions form and we're just gonna pop the trick ID on here, okay? And then we're gonna go to the submission controller, and wherever we created this stuff, let's go ahead and make sure that we put the trick ID on here, right? So that should do it regarding linking up the submission with the trick, right? So that should have been reloaded by now. Let's go ahead and add another submission. I'm gonna leave those videos in there. Let's do this one, backwards roll, next, anything, next, save, and let's go ahead and just take a look. Okay, and here we get the, what's it called, the data. However, you can see that at the moment this is a little bit messed up, so this is something that we'll need to fix. But if we take a look at what we're grabbing from the submissions endpoint, if we preview this data, we do get the video here, and this is now what we want to display essentially, right? So let's close our C# stuff. That stuff is now done for this task, right? Let's go ahead into the trick where we are displaying our videos. And for now, I'm going to remove this loop. That is going to mess up these IDs. So let's go ahead and remove that. I think the styling works. So let's actually, what's it called? Remove that little comment here because I'm not going to verify the IDs now. I'm going to leave the comments, and then when I'm going through the to-dos, I'm going to have a hard think about the IDs and if they're being used anywhere else, etc. So what do we pass into the video player? We're passing the video. Okay, so it's an object. We want to then, inside the video, start extracting stuff from this object, right? So let's go into the video player, and where we bound the source, right here, let's go ahead and say video dot whatever it was in the path, so video link, right? And now if we save this, there should be our video. Now we want to handle all the stuff regarding displaying our thumbnail. How do we want to do that? And not loading the video, and how do we want to do that? And again, this stuff is not too hard. So going back to here, let's go ahead and actually drop some of this stuff down, especially for the source. Later it's going to look a little bit different, but first of all, the thumbnail, you can just use the poster and the poster tag. and this will be thumb link. Okay. Now going back, if we go down here, maybe what we should see, the whole page didn't upload. Just gonna make sure that I'm using the correct thing, thumb link here. Actually, another part here is that we will probably need a different endpoint for the video. So what I'm thinking here is this could probably be a good time to bring S3 storage in, because it will just simplify stuff, and especially still for development. We can have the S3 bucket and put stuff there. The storage is relatively cheap as well, but we'll see. I might do it in the next episode. But for now, let's just refresh this and see what we get. So let's see if we get the images somewhere here. Yep. So PNG as a video, I mean, that's kind of alright. However, I think if we would go somewhere here, you can see the video is still loading, right? So this is the part that we want to avoid. So this video right here, close that. In addition to our 200 kilobytes or 300, we load another 600. And again, the thumbnail shouldn't really be that big. I think this is something that we can optimize, but at the moment, let's try to get rid of this. So coming back here, let's go ahead and find preload, and we're gonna say none. Okay, so this is the part where essentially, let's try to refresh this again, and now we will see the PNG, but we will not see the video part of this, right? So now if we do click play, this is the part where then it starts loading the video. Okay, so if you have 5 videos and the person's just scrolling through, we want to be loading simple little images, and again, the size here is something to be probably be gzipped, etc. But the type as well, let's go ahead and take care of this really quickly. This is something for the development cycle, really. So yeah, video, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It works. I will leave it. This is a development cycle. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that one, but this is essentially it, right? So don't preload your videos, display a thumbnail generation, how to store it in the database, how to display it on your UI. Pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, or trying to get better at programming but are maybe a little bit stuck. I also stream on Wednesdays and Sundays. I start around 6-7 o'clock London time, so if you're into that kind of thing, come join. For any updates around what I'm doing in my community, you can go ahead and join my Discord channel. Hope you have a good day, and see you in my other episodes.